Now, while it's not a big fancy anniversary, Ocarina of Time is 27 years old this year. Plus, do I really need an excuse to talk about this game? Hi there, and welcome to Game Chat. My name is David, and we like talking about video games here. What they mean to us, why we love them, and the experiences we share. So pull up a seat, and let's chat about some games. Ocarina of Time was the first Zelda game I ever saw and ever played. And you might be saying, well, duh, but allow me to explain. The first time I ever saw Ocarina of Time was at a friend's birthday party. There were a bunch of people around a television, and I was curious what was going on, so I went to go check it out. That's when I saw them playing Zelda. And while I didn't fully understand what was happening, I remember thinking this was a really cool, and I wanted to see more of it. Now, it wasn't until months later that I was over at my aunt and uncle's house, and I happened to be wandering around their basement when I saw they had a Nintendo 64 down there with Ocarina of Time in it. Curious, I turned it on and found myself in Ganon's castle. Now, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I found myself fascinated with the castle, exploring all the rooms, seeing all the different enemies. I even ended up climbing the tower and started the Ganondorf fight. Now, of course, during this fight, I really didn't understand what I was doing. I just kept hitting the energy ball with the Master Sword and kind of found myself locked in this tennis match for like 10 minutes. But here's the thing, even though I didn't really understand what was happening, I didn't care. I was enthralled, immersed in this world, and I wanted to see everything that I had missed. Eventually, my parents called me up, and I had to say goodbye to the game. Luckily, I didn't mess up my cousin's save data or anything, and everything in that regard was alright. That being said, Max, I'm sorry I played your game. It wasn't until sometime later that I got the game for myself. But now that I had it, I could play it at my own pace and speed. With Ocarina of Time being my first Zelda game, I didn't have anything to compare it to. At the time, I didn't even know what Link to the Past was, as I didn't have a Super Nintendo growing up. So the leap from 2D Zelda to 3D Zelda was lost on me. What I did know was I had a really cool game in front of me, and at the time, I didn't know how influential it was, even up to this very day. Ocarina of Time pioneered the action-adventure genre, mostly with its lock-on feature, which is still used in games to this very day. It also set up the blueprint for what a modern Zelda game would be for years. It really wasn't until Skyward Sword when we would see something of a shakeup. But even that change wasn't nearly as large or impactful as the changes Breath of the Wild will bring to the Zelda formula. Now, one of my fondest memories about Ocarina of Time is how it brought me a sense of community. At the time, gaming was still sort of a niche. Not a lot of people talked about it. It seemed like you had to be sort of in with a very specific crowd if you wanted to talk about gaming. Luckily, there were a few other like-minded kids at my bus stop. So as we waited for the bus to show up, we would talk about the game. We would ask ourselves questions or ask help for puzzles or see if someone had discovered a secret that we hadn't found yet. I remember one day I was stuck in the fire temple. And keep in mind, this was before the internet was what it is today. So I called one of my friends and we just spoke on the phone trying to figure out how to beat the fire temple together. This is still something I remember pretty fondly to this day. There's a sort of melancholy with the story as well. Link starts out as a child and is thrown into a grand adventure, and it doesn't take long before he finds his childhood is lost as he's thrown forward in time to adulthood. Maybe I'm being a little too sentimental or just a little sappy, but I feel a lot of us now as adults can relate to that. Just as Link lost his childhood, I'm sure a lot of us look back to the past and we just sort of remember the lost time that we don't have anymore. Yeah, sorry. Kind of brought the room down, didn't I? All right. We can't talk about Ocarina of Time without talking about the music. The soundtrack is amazing. It's something absolutely remarkable, and it's actually still referenced in a lot of current Zelda games to this day. The Song of Time is one of my personal favorites, but that's not to mention all the fast travel songs. Each one of those songs is something special, and those tunes are still stuck in my head. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of games, and I think a lot of us can relate to that. I really just got games on Christmas or for my birthday, meaning the games I did have, they stuck around for a very long time. Because of this, I would end up playing Ocarina of Time over and over and over again. And, I would try to see if I could do temples in different orders, which for the most part you can't, but you can sometimes do the Spirit Temple before the Shadow Temple. But I would try stuff like this, or I would try seeing if I could get heart pieces in different ways, or I'd give myself like little challenges, like can you finish the Deku tree in less than 25 minutes? Stuff like that. Just like Mario 64, Ocarina of Time is one of those games that stands the test of time. Thanks to modders and the overall online community, people will continue to speedrun this game, look for new tricks, and look for new skips. And the modding scene? Some mods change this game entirely. Some add randomized elements, taking this older game and making it fresh all over again. There really isn't a better time to try out Ocarina of Time. It's always a good time to try out Ocarina of Time. Now, luckily, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you have a Switch, it is on NSO as long as you have the expansion pack, and you can play it from right there. Now, there's a 3DS version as well. So if you have a 3DS, you could always get Ocarina of Time 3D, which is a really cool way to play the game too. And what's cool about the 3DS version is it comes with Master Quest included, which gives you a mirrored Hyrule and new challenges and puzzles in the dungeons you already know and love. Ocarina of Time is a very special game, not just for me, but for many people. Tell me your thoughts on the game. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Maybe you have a powerful memory burning in your mind about this game. Let me know. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Game Chat. I really appreciate it. As always, let me know what you liked and you didn't like, and what you would perhaps like to see in the future. Until then, my friends, be good to each other, be kind, and have a great day. We'll catch you on the next episode of Game Chat. Take care.